Now can you hear us? Is that
yeah,
here, Jason?
Can you hear me
or
not?
Jason's definitely the important one. Let's see.
Or not.
Apparently I was loud and you were not. That's probably because it was my machine, not the microphone.
Yeah, no, let's drop out and let's figure this out.
No, we're on.
No, let's drop it out and let's figure it out. Let's get it right.
I think we are right.
Not if people aren't hearing me.
There we go. Better, much better. Thank y'all. Thank you. Okay, where were we?
I don't know.
We were talking about multiform.
Multiform.
Yes.
Yes, because nobody wants to copy this.
No. Okay, how about, let me ask another question.
No, we can continue on multiform. I mean, if people can hear me.
Yeah, okay. Way better. Exponentially better. Excellent. Perfect audio. Hooray!
Okay, good. Multiform, the problem with multiform is that it's very esoteric stuff having to do with the multiplying DACs that we're using. Multiplying DACs are a special kind of multi-bit DAC. Not all DACs we use are multiplying. The DAC 11001Bs in Iggy are not. The DAC 8812s are. This is the first time we've actually used them in this way. That's this weird cross-coupled, kind of error canceling thing that it's mainly on the analog side. This is not a me analog thing. This is a Mike and Dave thing. This is Mike actually saying, I think I have a new thing for multi-bit. I'd like you to hear it. And he actually gave me that and the first version of Singular at the same time. They both sounded very different. They both evolved since then. I think, as I mentioned in the chapter, it does sound different. It's like a little more mature than, say, the Iggy 8812 implementation or the Bifrost 8812 implementation, even though it's the same, it's the same chips. And I don't think we're done, with multi-bit yet, because in addition to the DAC 11001B, I hear, a little birdie tells me that there may be some other very advanced multiplying DACs coming out in the next couple of years. That makes things really interesting. That might allow us to, deliver a true multi-bit thing with multiplying DACs with our own, current voltage converter that equals or surpasses the performance of Iggy Morris better. We'll see. Don't know. I mean, I've heard about, we're bringing out new parts from other manufacturers before, and nothing happens, or they aren't as good as they thought, or they change radically, or they're actually $500 and not $5. So who knows? But I don't think we're done with multi-bit, even though we will be playing around with what we're calling Singular. Very stupid name next year. Stupid name because Singular implies 1 bit. It's actually, depending on implementation, either 7 or 11 bits. So it's a lot of bits. It is our own Delta Sigma thing, and that you'll see that next year in Iggy first, actually.
So
does that answer multiform? I mean, it doesn't, but
I know, but it's closer.
I mean, get an engineering degree. Get familiar with essentially multiplying DACs. Consider how you'd use 8 of them to do 2 channels of audio. Those probably actually aren't the answers, but I mean, there's a finite number of things you can do.
Okay, so then did you actually cover what the roadmap is for multiform? Like, are you going to use this type of analog stage with the Yggdrasil Morris Better TI chips?
Oh yeah, everyone will want to know. It's like, are we going to do it on Iggy? Are we going to do it on Bifrost? And I think the answer is probably. I would expect that Iggy, like an Iggy 8812 multiform, might be like kind of the entry level Iggy to start in the future. I don't know. We got a lot of stuff to deal with Iggy, because Iggy has a bunch of upgrades in the pipe, including we have to get it forked for Forkbeard. And we also want to debut singular in that. So yeah, there's a lot of things to do first, and we'll see how we get to multiform. I think people forget that. Yeah, we have full-time people, for algorithms and for firmware and for software and apps and things like that. But they typically don't work on 33 projects at a time. I do, but I'm weird, and also it's analog, so I'm quickly becoming the appendix of the company. It's like, between the software, the firmware, the algorithms, and everything else, it's like, well, oh, now we need to put some analog in it. It's all right. I'm not feeling lonely or anything. I'm just amused by it.
So I understand that the new Gunyer 2 multiform analog stage is op-amp based. Will I be able to swap op-amps to tune the sound?
If you're good with SMD and you want to void your warranty, and if you actually are going to take the chance that you're going to use something that's not appropriate to it, knock yourself out. I wouldn't. We're already using probably the best op amps in the world in there. I mean, I think it uses, I think a half a dozen 80, 48, 98s. Go ahead and look those up. Look at the price, and then you tell me how much better you can do on that. They're not cheap. They're very good. They make the OPA 1612 look like a plaything, but they're analog devices, so weird care and feeding, and blindingly expensive. Dave and I have had lots of talks about that, because I'm like, hey, Nexus. And he's like, hey, you need like 8 gain stages here. I'm like, hey, maybe not Nexus. There's give and take. There's finite space. We can do a lot more on Iggy, because we just literally have more space to play with. We have more power supply to play with. So you'll see Nexus on that probably long before you see it on a Gunyer. And Bifrost, yeah, I mean, it'll need to be a friggin' TARDIS inside of it to get a Nexus multiplying DAC architecture. Oh no, just let's not. There are limits. I am fully on board for 100%. Everything should be discrete, because it is, to me, it is better. But there are places for op amps.
So what wine are you drinking?
It is a Newsom Vineyard Mourvèdre, Texas 2021. Newsom, not California Newsom. There's no relation. I met the proprietor. Very funny guy. I guess he gets calls all the time to see if he has Plump Jack wines, and he's like, no, he's not that Newsom. We're in Texas, so interesting. More Frenchy than California. More like a friend of mine used to say, they use the wrong end of the vine. It's more earthy and rooty than fruity and stuff. If anyone cares.
I hear Sin is going away and maybe coming back as a Super Sin, and isn't Mike's Gadget also forthcoming? What's up with those two? Please explain.
Yeah, Sin is only going away just because there's no great way to Forkbeardify it and not destroy it. It has a lot of controls on it. And if you want to actually have something that you're going to integrate in with a bunch of other products, it'd be nice to have all those controls remote control. Right now, we don't even have full remote control on Sin. You have to walk up to it and change the width and presence and things like that manually. Not ideal. So the right place for Sin is you move it up a notch. And you say, okay, so now we're going to motorize everything. Now we'll actually have full remote control. You can control it with Forkbeard or with remote or whatever you want. And that could actually be kind of like an add-on to a preamp, or it could be a standalone thing. But think more like Freya class. That excites me, because that's what I want. I think that will ensure we'll sell at least 5 of them. I don't know that we'll sell 500 or 5,000, but I suspect you'll see a larger Sin out there. in the future. And we're busy taking pieces of its technology and using it, like the width and presence are actually used in Gunner. So we're not cannibalizing it, but we've learned a lot, and we are using it in places. The gadget, now called Yord, is a whole different ballgame. That is now going to be a top-end product with a lot of controls. That one, I am thinking that we will get it out by middle of next year. If not, it'll certainly be next year, because there are prototypes running. They're performing all their functions. They're only being a little flaky, and they only have a few things to overcome. What will be interesting, though, is in the future, you'll have a lot of choice. You probably would be able to use like a Yord and a Wotan and be done. Just sorry, a Yord DAC of your choice and a Wotan, and you'd be done with everything. Or you could have a big crazy stack of, a Forkbeardified Loki Max, this super sin idea, a tube preamp, a bunch of amps, and you can essentially build the system the way you want and still have total control. Yord's going to be kind of a technology power. It's going to be a showcase for us. Right now, this year, we brought out, Forkbeard is kind of like our technology showcase for the year. Next year, you're going to see a couple other things. You'll see Singular, you'll see another DAC tech, and you'll see what we're calling Flux, which is the technology behind this Yord idea. So we're going to continue pushing really hard on essentially a lot of digital tech, because the analog stuff has matured a bit. You'll see some advances there, but we're pretty good with where we are in analog. We have a lot of good, discrete things to play with. But now it's kind of like, okay, the onslaught of digital is about to hit.
The Gungnir 2 manual says not to stack hot shit on top. But what if I'm not sure what I want to stack is hot enough to be considered too hot? Can Forkbeard tell me whether my Gungnir is in a safe temperature range?
Forkbeard will monitor the temperature of the Gungnir, but it's a car-style idiot light. It's basically, if the light comes on red, it's bad, and it just means just move the thing. The best thing, though, is just use some semblance of logic with it. I mean, a Mjolnir 3 that pumps out a whole bunch of heat through the bottom of the chassis, not a great idea. Mjolnir 2, not a great idea. Mjolnir 1, not a great idea. They all kind of use the chassis as heat sink, and it's pumping heat into a closed chassis that really does need its radiative surface. If you're talking a preamp, Freya's run pretty hot, but Kara doesn't run that hot, so maybe. Also, I mean, come on. I mean, they sell like little feet that are an inch or inch and a half tall. That's all you really need. It's just, don't use the little baby rubber feet. Do I need to 3D print custom weird tall
You could.
feet? I don't know.
You could, depending on, use these if your shit's too hot.
They could be all cantilevered and stuff and have these fancy cross bracing thing. We can say it dissipates vibrations, or
you could.
Or you can just buy the tall feet.
Right,
I mean, there's lots of tall feet out there. That's all. Gungnir, you'll see once you start getting the Gungnir 2s, they run pretty warm. Those 1 billion 80 4898 op amps in there, and the 2 transformers and the linear power supply and stuff. It's a lot of heat to get rid of, and so you really want to have the top surface being able to radiate a bunch of heat. That's all. Okay,
so I have kind of a 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is, can existing shit be Forkbearded? And when some pre-Forkbeard gear is in the stack, like for instance a Folkvanger, does Forkbeard show anything?
Yeah, good question. The only thing that we can upgrade to Forkbeard is Kara. If you have a non-F Kara, we're going to have a upgrade program. Send it into us, send us $100. You know, the difference between a Cara and a Cara F, we'll send you back, you know, your Cara Forkbearded. Unfortunately, for everything else, and that includes the preamps, the amps, everything, they don't really have the internal connections for it, or it is so early that we can't actually update it. So in the case of Azure and Vidar and Freya, no, we can't actually change those over. In terms of non-fork-bearded stuff, yeah, it has no idea what you have in your system. That's one of the things that the benefits to Forkbeard increase the more stuff you have in your system. A Folkvanger, in that case, is what we'd call a blood and guts product. You know, you can use it with a fork-bearded DAC, but you know, it's basically going to sit on your desk and you're going to be, you know, using it. So it doesn't even have remote control. It doesn't have a microprocessor. And when you see Valhalla 3, it's another blood and guts product. No microprocessor, no Forkbeard, no remote control.
Okay, so then just so I understand this, you have to have a Forkbeard module in each product that you want fork-bearded, right? That can be fork-bearded.
Yeah, that you want control or oversight over.
Okay.
It's not going to prevent you from using a Folkvanger.
Right.
But you essentially, let's say you took a Folkvanger and a Gungnir 2. Mm-hmm. You can have all the data from the Gungnir 2, and you can, you know, change, you know, essentially change inputs and NOS mode and all that stuff on Gungnir 2, but you can't do anything on the Folkvanger, which makes sense. It doesn't have any remote. It doesn't have any motorized anything. It doesn't have a microprocessor. It just sits there unless you touch it. So yeah, and that's the thing. You know, one of the reasons we made Forkbeard optional is some people aren't going to want it, or they aren't going to need it. I think once you actually have it in your system, it is quite addictive to see what's happening. And also to get the additional capabilities like visual volume. And we have a bunch of new crazy stuff coming, which I won't talk about, but we'll be adding features via Forkbeard. We're going to be adding a lot of features via Forkbeard, especially the DACs. And all those, you know, because of our promise, all those features will be free forever. You don't have to pay for them. We're not going to charge you per month. We aren't going to have like a Forkbeard Ultra app that actually costs money, and then the Forkbeard Basic app. You know, we're not going to do any of that stupid stuff. We don't take your data. You don't have to create an account. You know, this is about as up and up as you can get on the app ecosystem. And yes, we're working on Android.
I guess we're having some video issues.
Are we?
But I would imagine that just is because the internet sucks here.
Yeah,
I don't know
it could. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
We're gonna.
We'll fix this next time.
Well, next time we can do it in the office.
Yeah, because then we don't have to worry about
fiber.
it. Yeah, we'll do it at the office next time, because yeah, here, I'm sorry guys, but it is what it is, when it is, and when it is not.
No, we're gonna blame it all on you.
Yeah, thanks. That's fine though. Going right ahead.
Hey, you know, Lisa comes out of formerly the entertainment biz, so we can blame it on you.
Yeah, you can. You actually can. Yeah. All right. Somewhere along the line, you said that you have to use a full shit DAC preamp power amp system for visual volume to work.
Yes.
So then if I own a Forkbeard enabled amp, does that mean I can't control the volume with the app unless I have a Forkbeard enabled power amp?
You'd need a preamp to actually control the volume.
Okay, but as long as the preamp is on Forkbeard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has Forkbeard. Sorry, I got all confused. Then you can see it on the app, and you can do the visual volume, or no?
No, you'll need a DAC, a preamp, and an amp.
Okay, so you have to have all three in order to do the visual volume, but you can control the volume of your preamp by way of Forkbeard, even if the rest of your system doesn't have it.
And I'm going to get eviscerated for this, but this really isn't us being evil. What it is it's us saying, this is the only way we really know what you have in the system. So if you have a fork-bearded DAC, we know what mode you're using. We know what kind of output you're using. We know if you're going to be using single-ended or balanced output if you plug it into our preamp. We know what the gain of the preamp is. We know where the volume is set on the preamp. We know what the gain of the amp is. We know if you're using feedback or no feedback, if you can switch on the amp. So we have to know all that to actually do visual volume. The different, I've had people say, hey, I have a DAC that puts out 2 volts, standard 2 volts RMS in the single-ended and 4 volts in the balance. Why can't I use that DAC? It's like, well, you could if we trusted you to actually type in, yeah, I am using you'd have to say I'm using standard DAC, here's the output level, etc. And the thing is, it's like, this is supposed to be a non-nervosa inducing thing. We don't want people to go, oh my God, I don't know, does my DAC put out 6 volts or 1.5 volts or 2, and what does that mean? And where do I put it in? And it makes the interface much more complex. If you use all of our stuff, then you have certainty. Then we actually know what you're getting. And if you don't want to do that, that's cool. Just basically don't do Forkbeard. That's why we made it optional. You don't even have to have the modules at all.
So if you have an old Yggdrasil with the old chassis, but you do a new Iggy Plus upgrade chassis, can you get Forkbeard?
You will be able to get Forkbeard. New chassis will be able to be upgraded to Forkbeard very easily. Okay.
Easily.
Mechanically, very easily, because they have a separate back filler plate that lets us actually do changes like this. So when we go to Forkbeard, you'll have a Forkbeard port and you get 2 USB ports. So that's a difference in the metal. In the old chassis, sorry, that's not going to happen. In the new chassis, we just give you a new filler, and that's over and done with. Right now, we're debating on what is actually going to be required to do this, because again, the singular update will be part of this too, or not. I believe what we'll be able to do is say you can have both updates if you want. You can do singular and Forkbeard to Iggy, or you could do one or the other. You don't need to have both. And you may not want, the Forkbeard update may be bigger than you think it is, because not only is it 2 new USB inputs, so you get 2 Unison 384 inputs, but you also, I believe you have to have a new DSP board for it. So there's a bunch of stuff that changes. It's all modular. You can easily plug it in, but it's not as simple as cutting a hole in the back and sticking a module in. Believe me, I wish it was. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself, no, you should probably do the Iggy like this and anticipate these changes that are coming down the road in the future. But the reality of an upgradable product is it's never going to be upgradable forever. There will always be a limit. Iggy has gone past that limit because we went to a new chassis. And I'm pretty confident in saying I think you can probably upgrade Iggy pretty much forever, because the motherboard is really just a power supply. If we got to change every other board, you can still do that. But yeah, the old chassis are a limitation. That would be my chance to say, hey, if you want a cheap Iggy, we still have some garage sales. You get the new chassis with it, so you'd be ready for it. But we're not doing those updates quite yet. We're still proving those out. Dave and I are going back and forth on what's the best way to indicate when you're on the second USB, because as everyone who has an Iggy knows, there's only one USB LED in the front panel. Yeah. Again, love to send messages back in time to me, which we can't do.
Unfortunately.
Because sorry, if I have a time machine, not doing audio no more, guys. Sorry.
Okay, random question. Will you make a Magni-sized balanced headphone amp?
I hesitate because it's funny. One of the crazy Magnis we did was balanced. We could use a 4.4 millimeter jack and everything. I don't know. People have to tell us. Is there appetite for that? It would cost a little more than a Magni. It will not. It definitely won't measure anywhere near like a Magni. It will be more in the vein of like a skull, single-ended. Sorry, no feedback, open loop, middling to bad measurements, middling to low power. Those are the kind of trade-offs that you'd have to do to do a Magni balanced in that form factor and not have it go completely over the top. I mean, you can do it with op amps and stuff, but it's not that interesting. But I mean, we should have people tell us, are you interested in a Magni in that size with a 4.4? Because we've done it. I mean, maybe that's a little special edition thing. I don't know.
So, okay, off topic, but you mentioned Yord.
Yeah.
But you didn't actually say what the heck it does. So what the heck does the Yord do?
Okay, this can change, but as of right now, Yord does pitch shifting, which was the original gadget, dynamics, decompression or compression. So you can actually repair some of the damage done with compression. That's the hardest one to do as far as being able to set the levels right. The pitch is the most computationally intensive because you're literally taking the music apart and putting it back together again. And then I believe there's a 5 or 6 band parametric EQ in it, plus volume, plus input select. So it's a digital preamp with controls you've never seen in a digital product ever before.
Are we going to do any kind of shit show in 2025?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
One of the things that we'd like to do is not only restart the shitter meets and have Lisa learn how to use this stuff so that we have a little less trouble with that. We'd like to do an actual shit show, and we've talked about scaling that up to include other companies as well. So we'll see, but everything's kind of in flux right now. We will know a lot more as of Q1.
Okay, and also update on the shitter. Still don't have one. Not sure when we're going to have one, or
end of Q1 would probably be the earliest we'd be looking at.
Okay.
End of Q2 would be latest. It's like I'd love us to buy something. Tyler is talking sense to me that maybe buying everything is not the greatest idea, because we're also looking at bringing boards in, SMT, surface mount assembly in-house. So that's another big purchase.
What's the Forkbeard roadmap look like? I mean, I know one of your line items on your to-do list is Forkbeard everything, but
that was the worst one.
Obviously, that's not going to happen in a day. So
once we realized, that hey, this is going to be a thing. I mean, Forkbeard everything. It's a nice short line item, and then you're like, how many products do we have? What kind of microprocess? Oh shit, So yeah. The roadmap is slowly but surely get most of the larger products Forkbeardified. You can certainly see the more complex stuff, the Loki Max, the tiers, of course, all of that kind of stuff. We should bring that into the realm. Of course, Yord is going to have Forkbeard to start. I mean, there's no way. I'll show you guys the original 3D printed prototype of the control panel we were going to do for it, and you'll laugh your ass off and go, "Oh, no wonder you did Forkbeard," because this control panel would take a very expensive product, say a $3,000 product, and make it like $8,000 because of the milled knobs and crazy. It's nuts. It's a great idea, but then as soon as you add a feature, then what? You throw away this, $5,000 machined controller. I mean, let's not ever do that. I know there are companies that will do that, but that's not us. So the short the short answer is Forkbeard as much as possible. As much as possible probably means almost anything that's $500 and up and is not, tube or very simple. It will probably end up getting, pulled into that into that world, unless it's blood and guts. There's actually a good market for desktop products. I am unconvinced that, like, say, a Jotunheim needs to be fork bearded. It's something that sits on your desk, works great, as a standalone product. I'm very unconvinced that a Valhalla does. A future Lear, with the relay ladder, and oh yeah, well, that actually sounds a lot more interesting. So you're going to see some products we're going to set aside and say, look, this will never be fork bearded, and that's the stuff that doesn't have a micro in it, no microprocessor. And then there'll be the other stuff that's will slowly but surely get as many products as possible into that realm.
Somebody asked what the first shit product is. It was Asgard, and I soldered the first 500 boards.
Yeah.
In a garage.
Yeah, in our garage.
So I actually had one question that I could answer. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, and actually that's okay. Here's an interesting thing. 2025 is our 15th anniversary.
Oh, it is.
Our 15th anniversary technically would be, I believe, June 10th.
Yes.
Which is when we got our first sale of a Valhalla.
Of a Valhalla. Asgard didn't still for another day or two, I think.
Yeah, which we didn't actually have any in stock, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Never advertise anything you don't have.
Yeah, I mean, you came to me and you said, it's for a Valhalla. I guess I better finish that design.
Yeah, you started laughing, and I'm like, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that begs the question. I mean, do we do a 15th anniversary Asgard?
Maybe.
And no, not the original design.
No, I won't talk about that one. Someone will have to ask
Martin
me that later.
Loves that idea.
Oh, he does. Maybe you should then. Okay, well, if Martin's on board.
If he wants to build 500 of them, then sure.
Yeah.
Not that, but yeah. So maybe there's something we can do there.
And actually, speaking of Valhalla, will the Valhalla 3 be single-ended Class A or white cathode follower push-pull, and will it have no overall feedback?
Yes. No, actually, it's a white cathode follower output. Just like the current one. It is going to be OTL and OCL, like a Folkwanger. It will not have any output coupling caps. Yay. And it will be running about the same current as the current Valhalla, but the big difference is, it'll have the impedance multiplier, like Folkwanger, so it'll be more flexible. And of course, it gets rid of the output coupling caps. It's gonna look really cool too. If you like Folkwanger, you're gonna love Valhalla 3. You're gonna love Valhalla 3. That's one that runs very warm. So anyway, but yeah, no, it's a cool little amp, and actually, I've been playing around with it. We're just waiting for metal and boards now. Things done.
Cool. So tube phono.
Starting yet. Yeah. With any luck, we'll have that out in December. And sorry, guys, black to start. I know people are gonna kill me. It's like, where's the silver? It's like, silver is always more difficult because for some reason our metal guys unlearn everything they learned about silver every time we order silver. So there's a learning process. So it's like, paint it black, and then we do black. But yeah, December. That will be fork bearded if you want to do it, or if not, you get a remote control too. And once you've gotten done staring at the 35, I believe, LEDs on the front panel, you'll start realizing why we did Forkbeard. It's a lot easier to look at a screen and go, oh, the loading is 50p and 400 ohms, rather than it's a what? Yeah. So you're gonna enjoy that.
Yeah. Okay, so because like Wotan and Tyr, they're heavy machinery.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, and it's kind of difficult to ship them and all of that. Can you kind of give us an idea in relation to a Vidar or an Azure? Like what does Wotan and Tyr, where do they go from Vidar?
Where do they go from Vidar?
Like, how do they sound compared to Vidar?
Oh, you just get a Wotan.
That doesn't say what it sounds like.
No, just get a Wotan. No, sorry, I'm oversimplifying.
Yes.
Wotan and Tyr have more in common with any of the Nexus products. They're a little rounder sounding, a little bit more developed. They're a little more mature than a Vidar. Vidar's a great amp. It's wonderful. I mean, that's why Magnapan keeps coming back to us and saying, "Can I have more Vidars? Can I have more Vidars?" Because you take one of those, you stick it on a low to midline, Magnaplaner, and it sounds fantastic. A Wotan, you stick it on a low end Magnaplaner. Talking about the $1,000 ones, the really really cheapo ones, LRS pluses, and people run out of other rooms in the shop going, "I had no idea these things got that loud and went that low." And we're standing there going, "We didn't either." Wotan plays a lot bigger, louder, cleaner, and better than anything we make. Yes, including Tyr. Tyr is definitely much more refined. There's much more bombastic also on the low end because it's got that choke in it. But I mean, again, it's two of those is $3,300 versus $2,000 for a Wotan. I say just get the Wotan. When I was at Sumo, I always went for the Andromeda 3 because it was basically a Wotan. It's this big amp. It just drives anything. It doesn't care. There you go. That's kind of where Wotan is. It's our big honey badger of an amp. Does not care about anything. Runs pretty much anything. Has tons of power for pretty much anything. And for the people that are concerned about the fans are usually off. And in fact, we were peeling paint with the Magnaplaner, the LRSs in the show when we were at Can Jam, like the whole show, and the fans never turned off. So we were pushing it pretty hard, never had a problem. The fans will come on slow to start, and then it'll ramp up depending on the temperature. We have, again, algorithms for that. More of this fancy digital stuff that I keep trying to avoid. But I guess eventually I'll have to dust off that. I did actually do master's level stuff in DSP, so I don't want to do. I really don't want to do that.
Will Ragnarok 3 please have pre-out main in?
Ragnarok 3 will never exist.
Period. End of story.
End of story. There's no reason for a Ragnarok 3. With Forkbeard, it's like pick the best of what you want and put it together, and you have unified control. I don't see the reason for an integrated. My opinion is colored a bit by the fact that Ragnarok's never sold all that well. And I understand, there are a lot of other companies that, oh, well, so-and-so makes an integrated, and so-and-so makes an integrated. And I'm like, yeah, and that one's $5,000, and that one's $8,000, and that one's $16,000. And I noticed all these companies make integrateds because they make this hyper-priced equipment that you would never have a stack of. So I say, make a stack, get the best of each individual product in the stack, and then if things change, you can swap out that one piece instead of being stuck with one thing. So that said, I know you like your Ragnarok too. So she's like making faces at me behind the
yes thing. It's not on my desk, but it is desk adjacent.
She runs it vertically sitting by her desk.
It's I do. It's got a Modi sitting on it too.
Modi multi-bit at least, right? I mean,
no, I think it's a 3+. Oh, God.
Okay.
Might even be a 3. I don't remember. The Modi multi-bit started singing, so I had to because it was a Modi multi-bit 1.
Oh, it was an old one.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would take a lot to convince me to do an integrated because I'd want to. If I did an integrated, it would have to come in at the more like the $1,000 price point, to make it really worthwhile, and that's a lot of compromise. Or it'd have to come in to make it a no compromise product. It'd need to be more like $4,000 or $5,000, and at that point, you get a Giga Stack. It's $4,200 done.
So tell us about the bass management crossover device you're working on.
No, I'm not working on that, but I do understand people would love to do that. You know what? God, I wonder, could we actually add that to Yord?
Ooh.
We'd have to have separate digi-ops for it. Let me think about that.
Should I write that down and ask you about it later?
Well, yeah, and also they may want to have it in analog. Analog's a totally different thing. I mean, I love doing crossovers. I love doing analog filtering. There may be a space for it at some point because I mean, if we're going to do what we've been calling Schiitr, which is the super syn thing, it does have some bass management in it, but you could go ham on it and just do a completely bonkers new school electronic crossover / bass management thing. I don't know. Again, I think we'd sell maybe 3. I'd have 1. Yeah, so maybe 4.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. Okay. I got kind of a fun one here. What has been your toughest shit undertaking so far on this incredible journey called shit?
Oh boy. 2024.
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah. Like the whole thing, huh?
No one in their right mind does this.
No. Action packed. There's been a lot going on.
Yeah, we did a business move, personal move, introduced the most important new product, ever, Forkbeard. And I know some of you guys are like, it's a remote, doesn't matter. It's like, it's a signpost to the future. It's something that will.
Well, yeah. Are we going to do more software-y type things?
Well, I think Forkbeard is our
software-y. It's true. It's so large that we're going to explore the Forkbeard universe that just got created.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of the most important things. It's the only thing I've ever felt it's worth patenting. And we're going down that road, and we will get some of the things we're asking for. We have some process and systems, patents in the works. The reason we're doing that is we do believe that the future of audio should be a lot more simple, transparent, easy to understand. Let's let people get into it and try it, rather than like, my God, if you look at some of the forums today and they're like, okay, so, your new audio file. Well, all you need to do is you need to get this DAC that allows you to upsample to like 1.5 megahertz. And then you actually get this piece of software and you put it on your PC and you upsample with this, and it's with this filter and this particular thing, but don't actually do it like this. Use an external filter. And it's like, no one wants to do that. Everyone thinks you're insane. Audio should be easy. It should be like getting a Magni. You get a Magni Unity with a DAC in it. You plug it into your computer. You decide real fast if high-end audio is for you or not. Real simple. Very easy to do. And right now, I think a lot of people have lost sight of how you actually get started in things. You don't get the copper boiler $60,000 barista, Italian barista coffee thing to start. You probably start with pods. Let's not start people with pods, but let's start them with a good super automatic machine or something, that type of equivalent. So Forkbeard is our way of like essentially making things more modular, more visible, more understandable. Think about how many times you're asked, is this amp enough for my speakers? Well, with Forkbeard, we'll be able to actually answer that, and not hand waving, but like we'll be able to say yes, it is, or no, it is not, depending on how you actually use it. Um, how many times have you heard people go, "Wow, it's weird. I got to turn up my preamp farther than I thought because it's got a relay ladder in it." Yeah, it does, but look, it doesn't even go yellow until the end of the knob. You're not even actually in the clipping. You have plenty of space. We're going to make it easier and better and more enjoyable to get into high end, and that's our strategic thing. And if you don't want any part of that, we're gonna have plenty of blood and gut stuff. I have some really stupid stuff planned, and it has nothing to do with Forkbeard. If you want quad chassis amps that will heat your house and put out 20 watts of Class A, for real. Um, you know, we'll probably have that for you. Probably have Forkbeard in it too, but you don't have to do that. Just take it out.
Is the Goonier one multi-bit upgrade going to still be available next year? And do you still recommend doing it?
I don't know if we have the multi-bit cards anymore. If we do, it'll be available. The Unison cards we have plenty of, and that will be available.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's enough demand too, I mean, basically talk to us. If there's enough demand, I mean, we can do a short run of Junior multi-bit cards. That's not a big deal.
Okay. Well,
And yeah, once we actually start making our own boards, holy moly, it's that's another thing. I'll talk about this in the year-end wrap-up chapter of like how all the board manufacturers have gone insane. It's like, oh, our boards are now worth $1 billion. It's like, no, they are not. So we're going to be bringing that in-house, or a good chunk of it, not the BGAs, nothing with X-ray inspection. I don't want, funny looking kids on our, employee roster.
I'm actually curious. Would you do a tube speaker amp? Someone else was curious too, but I'm like,
yeah. We don't
know.
We don't know much about it. That's the problem. Tube speaker amps require either an output transformer, which we know. Here's what I know about transformers. I call up Skip and I go, "Hey Skip, I need a transformer to do X." And after a couple of revs, we have a transformer that does X. We have no IP in the transformer realm, so I can't claim that we have any great special sauce for a tube transformer coupled speaker amp. You can do OTL speaker amps too, but that's going to be like 16 or 32, 6 AS7 tubes paralleled. And I don't know if you guys, well, no one remembers. I don't even remember because I wasn't alive. But in the old days when they had computers based on vacuum tubes, they had people going around with unicycles to go and get the vacuum tubes and swap them out when they actually broke. I think, if you got 32 6AS7s all running, full out to try to run a speaker, you may not need a unicycle, but you may need to keep the silicone gloves sitting right next to the amp. So we don't want to get into that. So that's my long-winded way of saying probably not going to be doing it.
And actually, I share this question also. The new products on the website don't have internal photos.
Yeah.
Did we just not take those? Is that what happened? I think that's what happened.
They should have internal photos as of tomorrow.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm heading up to San Antonio.
Yeah.
I realized that too late, and I was my day up in San Antonio is usually Thursday, so it would have been today, but it's going to be tomorrow. So yeah, I got to go and take pictures. I also got to do measurements. There's a bunch of stuff we haven't done. We've been slightly distracted this year.
And another one, does the roadmap for Forkbeard include remote diagnostics for units with user-reported problems?
Yes. That is tiptoeing across the line of we don't take data, but I expect you'll be able to say, I'm having a problem. I'd like to send you diagnostics. It's not going to sit there and take data all the time, but you'll be able to say, hey, take diagnostics over the next half hour and send it to shit this one time. And then we'll be able to tell you, hey, this is good, bad, or indifferent, and we need to take a look at it. Good question. And that is one of the things I'm excited about. it may sound stupid, but Forkbeard has contributed to better product development significantly, because literally the first thing we do is we plug in Forkbeard on almost every product, and we sit there and we look at what the temperatures are, what the bias is, how stable it is. We've never been able to do that before. And in fact, it saved, I had a prototype on my desk that I was sitting there and I'm like, huh, that's funny. You know, it's running a little warm. It's running around 70 degrees C. And I'm like, that's a little high. And then it was 75. And then it was 80. And I'm like, and then it's 85. And I'm like, oh crap, I better, shut it down. And I changed the bias and brought it back. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff we can do. And with that level of oversight, sorry, horrible word. It sounds like we're, peering into your bathrooms, but it's like, it's just with that level of knowledge as far as what the units are doing, we can do a lot of really interesting things. A couple of those things we're going to introduce will actually use your private data. We won't send it to us, but it'll allow us to coordinate some things between units that no one's ever been able to do before. That's why it's important to us. It may seem like kind of like, it's remote control now, but it's not just a remote control. It's going to get real interesting in a big hurry.
And for our final question, is there anything going on for Brown Wednesday?
Yes. Brown Wednesday 2, the embrowning.
Yes.
Or whatever, like, it will happen. It's going to be closeouts of stuff that you're probably not going to be shocked about. Anything not fork-bearded that, probably is going to get fork-bearded. Some stuff that's still hanging around. I do think we're actually going to be hitting the tiers, though. So if people want to get tiers, that's the time to do it, because tier needs to get fork-bearded. It's probably also going to get a couple new some of those interesting features I mentioned. And if those interesting features work, they're going to come back and be quite a bit more expensive. So that's a hint. If you've been thinking about tiers, now will be a chance to get them more inexpensively. And when they come back, they're going to be a lot more expensive.
All right, then. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for blathering to us, Jason.
Wait, that's it?
I learned a lot too.
That was easy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
And next time we'll do it like either at the office or.
Yeah, sorry about the bandwidth problems and the microphone. I really don't know what was going on with that, but hopefully next time.
We still need to do like a walkthrough, like San Antonio and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they have enough things put away that, it's.
Yeah, you can walk around now. It's not just all boxes everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we do that next time. I know we're planning to do this, once a month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, once a month.
Yeah. And maybe that's the next one, as we go up to San Antonio, walk around.
Yeah.
Talk to people.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Let's do that.
Yeah. The lighting's got to be better than in here.
Oh, it will be. Trust me. It will be. Thank you.
Anyway, thank you for listening to the blather. And yeah, just, if you have any other questions, let us know for next time.